If you take the time to talk to anyone who has accomplished a great feat, most of the time they will tell you they saw themselves accomplishing it long before they ever experienced the win. Many athletes will tell you how they envision their success. Many speakers will tell you how they envision their success. Many people who are making such significant strides will often tell you that they saw themselves doing it long before they ever accomplished it. That is the reason why success superpower number 1 is see yourself successful. If you can begin to envision yourself accomplishing what it is that you want to do, there is a high probability that it will become your reality. Now let's get into it. For the longest time, I secretly wanted more. I often found myself shrinking to fit in, settling for what was comfortable, and even selling myself short. Once I finally accepted that we deserve success and we are blessed with the power to achieve it, I stopped playing small. I'm serious about building a life I love, and you should be too. I'm Denise Taylor of DeniseTaylor.live, and welcome to Embrace Your Power. I help women prioritize themselves, their success, and their happiness. Now let's meet this week's achiever, whose story will inspire you to embrace your power and go. Well, hello there. It's Denise Taylor here. You know, I'm always excited to have you join me each and every week right here on Embrace Your Power. Now, this is the place where you can always count on me to encourage you to build a life that you love. And I believe that God has given us the power to do exactly that. In fact, he says in his word that he didn't give us fear. He gave us power. And when we embrace our power, we truly can do, have, and achieve anything we want. Now, I will tell you, I believe you're going to be divinely inspired to go after the things that you have been uniquely created to accomplish. And when you experience that success, it's going to light you up from the inside out because it's going to fit you like a glove. Every aspect of you will be satisfied and fulfilled, and that's going to make you feel real good. Now, I don't know if you're watching on YouTube or perhaps you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, but I do want you to know this. Every Thursday is a special day for me because I know I get to connect with you right here. In fact, I call Thursday Treat Day. I look forward to this connection. For me, it is an honor. I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of your lineup. And if you haven't yet taken time to do a rating or review, do that for me now. Even if you've done it before, do it again. That helps all of my efforts to get this out to people so that they can be encouraged too. Now, I want you to know that I believe in your success, and it's such an honor to be a part of your success journey. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast, then I want you to know about the success superpower. So let me just review them really, really quickly. Superpower number 1 is see yourself successful. I believe that when you begin to envision yourself doing the thing, you will be more likely to accomplish it. We see it all the time. We hear athletes, we hear professionals, we hear people who accomplish such great things always say they visualize themselves doing it first. I believe that you can visit your future on the canvas of your imagination, and you can begin to experience with all of your senses what it's going to be like when you accomplish that thing. And that is going to give you a taste of victory and draw you closer to becoming. Now, success superpower number 2 is shake off fear. And the reason why that slides right behind number 1 is because when we start dreaming big, we allow doubt sometimes to creep in and fear sometimes to creep in. And the best way to eradicate fear is with truth. Who did God create us to be? Who did God say that we are? What did God say that we can accomplish? And let's go with his word and not our fears. Number 3 is do the work. When it comes to doing the work, we can't escape our responsibility to get busy. We've got to put our hands into action and become real diligent about accomplishing the thing that we want to do. But here's the promise. God said that he would bless the work of our hands. Success superpower number 4 is take care of you. Now, here's the truth. The mantle of greatness is heavy. And if you aren't fit for the journey, it will burn you out. So taking care of every aspect of who you are is increasingly important to make sure that you can go the distance. And finally, you got to hold fast to your faith. And that's success superpower number 5. Hold fast to your faith. When it gets hard, in days of contradiction, when you're overwhelmed, when you are unsure, when uncertainty may be ahead of you, you got to know without a shadow of a doubt that God's got your back, and be able to hold fast to your faith. Now, the reason why I play back the success superpowers is because my guest today has them peppered all throughout her experience. You're going to hear examples in her sharing of how she had to see herself successful, how she had to shake off fear, how she had to do the work, take care of herself, and hold fast to her faith. She embraced her power and she was able to accomplish becoming a doctor of pharmacy and also achieving her dreams of modeling. I love testimonies that exhibit success, and I think you're going to find my conversation today delightful. And I will see you on the other side. All right, so when I think of building a life that we love, I think of Dr. Samantha, and here's the reason why. As we were preparing for our time, this acronym came in mind when I thought of her, and it was IT Girl. And sometimes when we hear that, the IT Girl, we think about being bougie and we think about being classy. But in my mind, she's inspirational and she's talented. And I love that she is so unapologetic about showing those aspects of who she is. And to me, that's what helps her beauty to shine even more. Is the fact that she is an IT girl. And so I am so excited to invite Dr. Samantha onto the podcast today. And we're going to just unpack her beautiful experience and how she is so overcoming and accomplishing some incredible things. So do me a favor and introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me so much, Denise. And hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Samantha Deloache. I call myself the Modeling Pharmacist, and it is what it says. I'm a pharmacist that models, but I'm a lot more than that. I'm a aunt, I'm a sister, daughter, a friend, a child of God, and I'm just a, woman who's doing her best. She's single, she's saved, she's satisfied, and I'm just doing the best I can to fulfill my dreams and just build the life that I want to live,
Yeah, and it comes across so beautifully. And when I first met you and I heard Modeling Pharmacist, I was trying to just understand how you were bringing that to life. But then as I began to follow you on social media, there were a couple of things that stood out to me about you. You have a passion for health. You make that very apparent, the passion for health that you have and how you show up and show your workout routines and show your experience and accountability to that. You have a passion for some good eats too. You are a little bit of a foodie. You have a passion for good eats. You have a passion for fashion and you have a passion for modeling. And more than that, you had a desire to be a pharmacist and you did the work to make that happen. And so I love by that whole moniker of the Modeling Pharmacist, how you bring both aspects of your world together. So when I was checking out your website, the thing that stuck out to me was your acronym for MODEL. Break that down for us a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, model for me is mission of daily excellent living, meaning every day we all have a choice to make on how we're going to live our lives. And I like to say we all are models. We all are modeling something, be it good, bad, or indifferent. We all are modeling something. So if you don't like what you're modeling, then it's up to you to make that change so that you can model to the world what you want it to see. But just excellence is what we all should be striving for. That's not perfection, but it's allowing us to do the best that we can. And we should be pretty much judging ourselves each day to how we did the day before. So we all can be models because it's a mindset. We think of modeling being how we look physically, and that's a part of it. But more than anything, it's a mindset because whatever I think about myself, whatever I tell myself is what I'm going to eventually project or model anyway. So y'all can make a decision to live excellently every day.
So now your passion for modeling, is that something you've always had? Like, were you a little girl model? Like, tell me where that desire came from.
Well, it's very interesting. Growing up, I had low self-esteem. Growing up, I did not feel attractive. My parents did not have the money financially to help me model. But the funny thing was, I kind of kept getting little, I guess, winks from God, I like to say, throughout my life. I would have people come up to me and say, "Oh, you look like you should be a model, or you have the height, you have the build." And in one instance in particular that stood out was one Saturday, I believe, I was in the mall with my mom growing up, and I was walking by myself. We separated, and this woman approached me, and she said, "Oh my goodness," she said, "you are so beautiful," and she said, "You ought to come to my charm school." And she gave me one of her business cards, and she said, "Have your mom give me a call. I think I can really work with you and develop something and help you." And so I was so excited. I was like, "Oh my God," she saw something in me. And so I took off running to find my mom. And, when I found her, she, looked at the card and kind of, gave it back to me and just kept shopping and didn't really, give me enough pizzazz. I'm thinking like, did you just hear what I said? This lady said that I am beautiful and I should be a model and I should come to her charm school. And she basically said, well, she's going to want money and we don't have the money for that. So I'm sorry, you can't go. So I, of course, was crushed. I was sad, but I held onto that business card for years. I had it taped to my dresser or my mirror. And every day I would look at it for a long time. And I would always imagine like what would happen if I would call. And I even contemplated calling sometimes, but I knew eventually she was going to have to speak to my mom because I was a minor. So I never called the lady, but I just kind of held on to that hope. So I think initially those seeds were planted where I didn't feel like I had what it took, or I didn't have the looks, my family didn't have the money for me to model. And then as I got older, I just relied on my academics and just kind of kept my head in the books. And then after I graduated, I still had that passion for modeling. Or I still kept hearing those people say stuff to me because I was even at a career fair once. And a woman was like, "Why are you here at this career fair? You need to be modeling. Don't even come to my table." And she refused to give me stuff from her table because she was like, you don't need to be over here looking at what I have. And I think it might have been like an army table. I don't know, one of those type of career fair tables. So I just kind of kept getting that. And I was like, well, you know what? You're an adult now. You can kind of, manage your own self. So why not just go ahead and explore it and model and, deal with your pharmacy career and, have both. And so that's what I did. I didn't want to throw away pharmacy because I did take time to become a pharmacist and that was a part of who I am. And then I'm like, well, I still always had a passion for modeling, but not just only physical modeling, but just seeing how I can develop and put my own niche into it. And that's kind of how the modeling pharmacist was born.
Wow, that's an incredible story. And unfortunately, many of us had those type of moments with our families, right? And while we can look back and say, how could we have navigated it differently? Our parents, they did the best they could with what they knew how at the time. But we have those moments that happen in our lives where we get exposure to something that stretches us and helps us to see some things about ourselves that we may not recognize. And I love the fact that you said you taped the card to the mirror and you just would not let it go. I also love how that is a quality that people saw in you time and time again, and how it was affirmed and confirmed and reaffirmed and reconfirmed for you over and over throughout your life that there was a gift. But even more, I love how you broadened it. that it wasn't just about showing up with the physical appearance, and it broadened to how do we begin to model excellence in our lives. And to me, you've taken it to a whole nother level, and that's fantastic. Now, one of the things before we get into your journey to becoming a pharmacist, one of the things that I know you're passionate about also is manifesting our dreams. And I think now we have the backstory as to what kind of fed into that a little bit. But as you think about your journey to becoming a pharmacist, your journey to pursuing your modeling desires, what does manifesting your dreams really mean to you?
Well, for me, manifesting your dreams starts again in your mind and what you're telling yourself. And I just feel like you have to have a positive thinking, because when you're negative, you're going to find hurdles, roadblocks. But when you're positive, you're going to find, like, you know what, I can get to it. I don't know how I'm going to get to it, but there's got to be a way out there. So you find solutions when you have an open mind. And so I basically had to get up my own way, because initially I was just kind of, blaming my upbringing, oh, well, if my parents had more money, or, many people start modeling at a younger age. I've missed my cutoff point, and I just felt stuck. But ultimately, we are in control of our own destiny. And so we got to take ownership for our lives, what we want. And then we got to start, writing those things out, having a plan, and then start slowly executing it. And then also, I feel like my manifestation meant I had to stop comparing myself to others, because a lot of times that kind of discouraged me when I would see how farther along other people were, or I felt like, well, I could do what they're doing. Why, am I not in that position? And I just had to embrace my own journey and just be proud of Samantha, and just be like, you know what? God gave you everything that you needed to get to where you are, and everything you need is already inside you. So we just got to believe that it's in us, and we just got to have that positive thinking and just kind of just keep going, be consistent. That's been my theme, or my word, how some people pick a new word for the year that they follow and, let that guide their year. I've always just been thinking consistency, because you don't know when your next moment will be the moment that'll take you to that next level.
I love that one of the things that you noticed about yourself and did the work to shift was the comparison, because we often hear that comparison is a thief. It absolutely is a thief. It usually comes out of that whole perspective of low self-esteem, of us feeling as if we missed out on something, and we see other people who either have or are experiencing something that we may think we want for ourselves. But you went on to talk about how you could really fix your focus on dreaming that dream for yourself, and then doing the work by making the right mindset happen for you. And so I think that that's really incredible that you saw that, and that you did the work to shift that thinking. So let's talk a little bit about your journey to becoming a pharmacist. Was that always a dream for you too?
Yeah, well, that one was definitely more of a dream than the actual modeling part. I went to a church growing up that had 3 pharmacists in attendance, a part of our church membership. And so I knew I wanted to be in healthcare. And the funny thing is, I just thought of a story. My grandparents, when I was younger, on the weekends, I was spending that at their house. And so on that Sunday, we would help them fill their pill trays. I would, put the tablets in, different spots for them and do that. And I was writing something one day for my granddaddy, and he was like, "Ooh, your handwriting sloppy. You have a doctor handwriting." So I can reflect on that. I was like, well, I was kind of doing pharmacy at the age of like 8 or 9 when I was practicing putting pills in their pill tray, and then just going to church, seeing those pharmacists. And again, I'm not a blood and guts person, so I knew I wanted to be in healthcare, but I didn't, know I knew I didn't want to be a doctor, medical doctor like that. And so I said, pharmacy seems to be, a good career. Everybody gets sick at some point in their life. At some point, we all take a medication or a supplement, herbal, something. And so I said, you know what? I want to be a part of that side of it. You see the doctor, and then I give you the solution to help you get better. And so that's what kind of made me hone in to pharmacy.
Okay. And that journey to becoming a pharmacist, what is that like? What was that like for you?
Well, it was really challenging, and it was kind of far-fetched, if you will. Nobody in my family, immediate family, was in healthcare, or at least a pharmacist. I think we've had a few nurses or something like that. But the whole journey of having to take the national tests and to apply, and then I had to go for an interview, which was different, and that was in Charleston, South Carolina, about an hour away from where I live. My mom had to take me, and I had to get a new dress. It was just like a whole process of like, oh, I'm really becoming this adult. And I had to interview with 3 different people, and that was scary. They were all white men, of course, so just kind of being in a different dynamic, being like a 22-year-old, Black female from the urban area. And so it was, it was a little scary, and I honestly didn't know, what would happen. If I didn't get in, I like mass communication, so I know I probably could have fell back on that. But I just felt like this was just kind of something different. I was definitely stretching myself, and just was scared but excited, and just kind of had all kind of emotions. But I did the work, made it happen, and when I got accepted, I was definitely relieved. But was like, okay, now the real work is about to begin, so.
Yeah, I think you stand as such a great example for young girls. And I know that you do a lot of volunteering and mentoring and working to give back, especially because you're right. A lot of the people who do have those white coats in that space don't look like us. And so I love that you're there, bringing all your Black girl magic, I might add, to the table with you, and being real unapologetic about it. And that's one of the things I think is a good segue to my next question for you, is that you are a huge advocate for beauty and brains. And you talk about having beauty and brains unapologetically. And so I know I can understand the passion, but why do you think we struggle with that? Why do you think we don't really allow young girls to understand that they can tap into both of those aspects of who they are?
Yeah, I think the crazy thing about it is that we just don't see enough of it. And then we also, for some reason, society has told us we have to choose. Like, you can't be both. Like, usually a very attractive person is known as the bimbo or airhead, or, oh, people just like her, or guys just like her for her looks. Or it's this hidden thing where if they're very smart, then they're not attractive, or they're a nerd, or nobody wants them, they're undesirable. They get picked on, so it's kind of like that weird space where if you are intelligent or smart, you tend to hide it because you want to be cool and you want to fit in. Mm-hmm. And then the people who are intelligent, feel like that's all I have to offer. So, people are copying my homework, or, I feel like I've been on both sides of it. I feel like I've been that ugly duckling. And I did have kids, who, she's smart, so let's sit by her, let's copy off her paper. But I never saw myself attractive growing up. I just saw myself as that smart person, that smart girl, and that that wasn't my space. And the attractive girls in my class weren't smart, and they weren't passing, but they got all the candy on Valentine's Day, or all the guys drooled over them. But so I saw it as a divide. I didn't see it as both. And until I started hearing more of that, oh, you could be a model, oh, you're attractive, oh, you have to hide, and it's like, but people do find me desirable, or maybe I need to look again in the mirror. Maybe I'm overlooking that part of myself because I don't feel like I have it, because, I didn't hear it growing up, per se. And so when I started hearing it, then it was like, well, maybe you are smart, and well, you're smart, but maybe you are attractive as well. And so, why can't you be both? Why can't you have both of those things? And so I do like to try to put that out there for the younger girls, just being a well-rounded person overall.
And so I know that, again, volunteering is so important to you, and you have a heart for women, you have a heart for community, and very powerful experiences. So tell me more about how you're mentoring, how you're serving, and how you are really bringing that to life for yourself.
Well, I definitely work with my church. We have a lot of programs. And so I think that was my first exposure, kind of dealing with my church. And then my sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, there were volunteer, services a part of our course. So I began doing things kind of, I will say, truly out of obligation, or because it was required. But then I started realizing the impact that it was having. And then I started seeing a lot of myself in the people I was helping. Like, I was not confident growing up, and I would have appreciated if someone took a little extra time with me. So I kind of wanted to be for others what I was lacking or didn't have. And then it does make you feel good. Like the saying goes, it's better to give than to receive. And, you're blessed to be a blessing, So I just truly felt like if I'm in this position, if God continues to give me more or just allow me opportunity, then I want to give back. I want to leave a legacy, whether I have children or not. I want to be able to, leave an impact for people to know that you can start not in the best, I guess, condition or have the most things, but that doesn't have to limit you. You can still build the life you want. You can still be successful, and you can still help others.
That's good. That's really, really good. Now, you're my soror, right?
Oh, no, I did not.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay, well, yes, even better connection.
All right. So, I guess the next thing I want to talk about is your solo trip, because it was so fantastic. It was just fantastic to watch it from a distance. And there's so many things that I think about when I think of a solo trip. And I've done a lot of travel by myself, but I haven't traveled the way that you did. So tell us a little bit about your trip. And I will tell you, you made it look like an experience I wanted to allow myself to go on. So tell us about it.
Well, I went to Paris for 2 weeks. I was supposed to go in 2020 for my birthday. I wanted to go. I had this thought, you know what? You need to do a photo shoot in front of the Eiffel Tower. So that was like a passion or a dream I had for about 2 years. And then COVID happened and shut it down. So I got discouraged, and I recreated a in-studio photo shoot for the Paris. And it turned out lovely, but I knew it still wasn't the same thing. But then I kind of kept seeing people recently, going to Paris. And I was like, well, that was originally where you were supposed to go. So why don't you go ahead and go back? But this time, go longer. Now you're going more intentionally, because initially I didn't really have a plan or a vision. I just wanted to go do the photo shoot. And that was that. But then I said, you know what? I want to really experience the area, the culture. My last name is French, Deloache. And so I've always, constantly heard about, do you have any connection to Paris or France or anything like that? And, I need to do a history or one of those DNA things to find out from sure. But I just felt like this was kind of like a dream come true for me to do this trip by myself and to do it the way I want to do it, because I'm the type of person, I go all in. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I don't like to have to look back and say, oh, I wish I could have done this, or I wish I had more time for this or that. So I knew I wanted to fully just go on almost like a honeymoon, just like a celebration of myself, and just kind of, let it be seen that you can travel and you can have a good time and you can do it by yourself. And you can make it a rich experience. And so I wanted to, do the photo shoots, but I wanted to do more than one shoot. I wanted to do all these different, cooking classes. I wanted to, do sightseeing. I just really wanted to just do a little bit of everything and literally have something to do each day. I wanted to have it layered up. I think I had one day where I kind of did nothing. But other than that, I just, fully went and did all the little sightseeing places, the things that people said, oh, you need to visit this palace. You need to go, I just kind of combed the internet, looked up hashtags, just kind of found everything Paris related, and I built my itinerary, and I literally planned and did it all myself. And so I had a fabulous time. And if I had the extra money and the extra PTO, I would probably stay another week. I felt like for me to do what I wanted to do, I probably could have done 3 weeks. Everything I wanted to do in Paris, I did. And so, yeah, it was just a beautiful moment, something I'm going to cherish forever.
Now, I've gone to Paris a couple of times, and so I will say that you left no stone unturned. Like, you were able to take in quite a bit of what it had to offer, and you did it so beautifully. And I mean, just the sharing, it just felt very empowering. When I've traveled there, I went once with my daughter and I went once with my aunt. And so it just felt empowering to see someone doing it by themselves, enjoying it by themselves, and really, to your point, building an experience. It did indeed feel like you went on a personal honeymoon. That's what it felt like. And so I think that that's a great description for what what it looked like from the outside looking in. And so I would imagine that probably pricked in you an appetite to go other places you desire to go and experience them in like manner, because you did it so beautifully. And so I commend you for taking that courageous trip. Now, around these parts, I really try to encourage people to build a life that they love. And I love to close out tapping into wisdom. And so let's see what your wisdom is to share. What's your life wisdom? What would you tell your younger self about life if you could?
I would tell younger Samantha that life is what you make it, and that happiness is an inside job. So stop waiting for permission to live the life that you want, because that's what I did a lot. I was looking for approval from my family heavily, like my mom, my sister, just kind of, do you think this is okay? Or what do you think? What do you think? Like, I wasn't trusting myself. I was looking for them to affirm me. I was looking for them to tell me it's a good idea. And if they thought it wasn't a good idea, then I probably wouldn't do it. Like, I would literally let them talk me out of stuff. And then the sad part is I ended up kind of going through a point of time where me and my sister kind of stopped talking as much, and we kind of separated, and I had to kind of rely on myself. And I think that now that I look back on it, that was kind of godsend, because I had to start trusting me. And then what I noticed was that I was still doing good. I was making stuff happen, and I was doing it quicker because I wasn't trying to filter it through other people. I had to kind of filter it with myself, filter it with God, do a quick prayer. And then it's like, well, do you really want to do it? I just kind of had to, instead of asking them, bring it back to yourself. What does Samantha want? How's this going to make Samantha feel? What is your plan? So I had to learn to trust myself more during that time period. So I would just tell younger Samantha, trust yourself, rely on yourself. You have what it takes.
What would you tell your younger self about love if you could?
Ooh, I would tell younger Samantha that love takes as much hard work as your education does, and anything else in your life that you care about. Because I thought that all I had to do was flip a switch, and when I was ready to be in a relationship, it would happen. I did not put in effort to really, really be a good girlfriend or to really even date. And I still, honestly, if I can be honest with myself, I'm not doing as much as I should now. But it's like, I want to be married, I want to have kids, but I didn't do things that showed that I wanted that, if that makes sense. So the same dedication, the same, like when I have a dream or a goal or something I want to do academically, I knocked it out, and I didn't have any hesitation. And so that same type of drive and that same type of energy, even though it looks different, is still required in a relationship. And it's not just going to float or just happen out of osmosis. It's not going to just come sit in your lap. You're going to have to put some effort and intentionality in your relationship or in your personal life.
That's good. And then happiness wisdom. What would you tell your younger self about happiness if you could?
Yeah, I would tell myself that, well, one, try to look to have joy and not just happiness, because happiness is on circumstance, happenstance. So try to look for joy, look for deeper things, because every day you're not going to be happy. But if you have a joy, or if you have a content, state, then you'll be better off. And then ultimately, it still goes back to me taking control of my life. Mm-hmm. If something is not bringing me happiness or joy, then what do I need to do to change that? And, I'm responsible for that. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Well, Dr. Deloache, I want to tell you that success looks so good on you, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you being here with me. How can the listeners get connected with you?
Well, you can go to my website, www.samanthadeloache.com or www.modelingpharmacist.com. And then I have my Instagram pages, at Samantha Deloache or at Modeling Pharmacist. So those are like the two main ways to stay abreast of what I'm doing. And on Facebook, I have Samantha Deloache, Modeling Pharmacist, my page, or just Samantha Deloache. So basically everything is about the same throughout the different mediums.
Awesome. Well, it was great hearing about your adventures, and thank you so much for how you model and show up. And I really appreciate you taking time with me today. So I have to say, I really enjoyed my conversation with Dr. Samantha. I loved how she was so open about sharing her journey with overcoming low self-esteem. It's so hard to believe, looking at her now, that that was once a struggle. But the truth is, many of us still struggle with limiting beliefs. And here's the thing I want to be absolutely clear about. I really don't care what age you are. You can let it go. You can be in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s, and still be experiencing limiting beliefs. But I want you to know it is never too late to let it go, to begin seeing yourself the way that God sees you. When He looks at you, He believes that you truly are the good thing. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about my brand new podcast, I'm the Good Thing. You see, on that podcast, we go after limiting beliefs with life wisdom. It's a unique format. It's 5-minute episodes that help to energize your morning 3 days a week. I hope you'll take a listen to it, so that you can be encouraged to think with more confidence and to really see yourself the way that God sees you. Check it out. The name of it is I'm the Good Thing. Thank you for tuning in with me today. And as always, I appreciate being connected with you, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Well, that's it, beautiful. Thank you for tuning in. Don't ever forget that you are truly blessed with life, love, and all the happiness your heart can hold. Be relentless in building a life you love without apology. I'm Denise Taylor, and you can always find me in our free Facebook community. It's Embrace Your Power. Easy to find. Now be sure to rate and review this podcast and share it with a friend. And make sure you subscribe so that we can stay connected each week. And remember, God has not given us a spirit of fear. He gave us power. So be sure to always embrace your power and go.